AM radio commercials.
Another episode of Arguing with Tom and Jerry with the AM radio commercial featured at the top this time because we're starting to get a little bit bigger, you know,
Yeah, a little more advanced and
getting kind of popular
a little
as
more
best as I can
complicated.
tell. I was having a hard time getting out of my garage this morning.
Yeah, I had to shovel out. I couldn't go to work. I got snowed in.
I couldn't even get to work today. I wanted to say that it was because of the popularity of the podcast, but maybe it did have something to do with the snow.
Mm. I think I'm the only one who didn't go to work.
There's the snow.
Did you shovel your drive?
Yeah, I wanted to talk to you about shoveling snow. I was wondering. I did shovel my driveway. I shoveled my driveway about 4 hours after my neighbor shoveled his driveway.
Uh-huh.
But he's been shoveling his driveway about every hour on the hour since yesterday. I mean, I was
Oh,
just
he's
kinda,
one of so he instead of waiting for it to finish, he
Mhm.
would do it as it was snowing, so
Yeah,
it'd be a little less to do each time.
I think so.
It's all how you like to spend your time, you know? It's all about quality of life and how you like to spend your time.
On the other hand, I noticed as I was watching him through my front door um, while he was shoveling snow, and it was like he the snow was accumulating on the driveway behind him while he's progressing down the driveway.
Yeah.
You know, I was kind of just wondering about the logic of that, but
He could
but
have
then
he could have just
when
used a broom.
right, may as well have used a broom because there wasn't really much snow there. But then by the time he was done, there was an inch of snow on the driveway all the way back up it,
When he'd
except
get
for
to the
where.
end of the driveway, would he turn around and look and see what happened and just like throw up his arms like, not
I,
again? You
yeah,
kidding
like
me?
how this happened. Uh,
I just I just did that.
One thing I noticed is after he shoveled his driveway, then he started his car, which was in the driveway, and then he let it warm up and got all the snow off of it, and then he left, and then there wasn't any snow where the car was.
Yeah.
And so I'm
You'll
wondering,
have
it's
that.
like maybe a better strategy would be just to have a bunch of cars in the driveway.
Hey, yeah, get your neighbors to also park in your driveway. When
Hmm.
just watch the weather, and when you know a storm's coming, just kind of go over to each neighbor with a little shtick, a little spiel, and be like, "Hey, how's about you park your car over here on my driveway?" You
Right,
know, just
right.
being neighborly.
Yeah,
You
just
know, just
wondering. I'm going to have
you
mine
don't
all
need that.
shoveled off and everything, and I wonder,
You
it's
don't
what's he
need that
like.
car in your way, having to walk around it and stuff. Park it over
Right.
here. I don't care. It's fine.
Hmm.
I'll deal with it.
Hmm. Yeah, it was a interesting piece of I don't know if they call that sociology or anthropology, but
I don't think that's anthropology. I don't think so.
that's like a furniture and like clothing shop, right?
Anthropology?
Yeah.
I never heard of that. I
Well, I
never
mean,
heard tell of that.
why would you have heard of it if it's like a second rate like furniture and like kind of curio shop?
So it's like a secondhand used
Mm-mm.
furniture, like really
No,
old used furniture called
no, no.
anthropology.
No, that would make sense if it were that, but this is more like, as I understand it, I've never set foot in one of them, but as I understand it, it's a
You've
shop that
never
might
set
be.
foot inside of an anthropology? You never
I've
set
never
foot
set,
inside of an anthropology?
no, I
Okay,
have.
sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, it's fine. I just, as I understand it, this particular establishment um, might like exist in high-end shopping districts around the country. and they might go curate or source uh, useless kinds of curios and furniture and that kind of a thing from like poor people around the world, and then they
From
and then they
digs.
and then they sell them to the suburban housewives of Dallas.
Mm.
I don't know a whole lot about it. I'm as best as I can tell.
Uh, do you ever catch yourself like daydreaming when somebody else is talking to you and you weren't listening at all? Does that ever happen to you?
What? Uh,
Were you saying that people are taking things from
mm,
archaeological digs and then
uh-huh.
selling them to rich housewives in Dallas?
hmm Well, those
So
those
I
we would
was
tip,
listening.
those we would typically call museums or that kind of a thing. But this is an actual like kind of brick and mortar retail establishment.
Is the Smithsonian a museum?
Mm, yeah.
Have you heard about how like all the like 8, 10, 12 foot giant skeletons that have been found all throughout the country, this country, your country, that have been donated to the Smithsonian, they just disappear like the end of an Indiana Jones movie in big crates in the basement, never to be seen of again.
Because they don't want us to know about the
Doesn't fit the
giant creatures
narrative.
that once lived among us.
Exactly.
But
Probably tall Vikings.
they play. There are some pretty tall guys like playing basketball and stuff. These
Yeah.
are
Well,
bigger
these
guys or bigger
even
women.
bigger.
Yeah, yeah, even bigger than that. Haven't
I
heard
don't
about
know.
any of that,
Don't know
Jerry.
how they. I have no idea how those are ancient skeletons. There's no way to tell how they identified. I just know that they were of large stature, and then all of a sudden they were no more.
Was it possible
You
that
can
when
find
the
old news articles about these stories in like the microfiche.
in the what?
Microfiche.
Huh?
You get in there.
Oh, that you mean the microfiche?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I used when I remember when I was a kid, I'd go to the library and look in the microfiche and stuff, and it'd be like old newspaper articles.
I thought it was microfiche. It doesn't matter. We don't have to
Um,
argue about it.
so I wonder if when the skin and the flesh and everything is like pulled off of the skeleton, if you might actually be taller, is what I'm wondering. And so like it might be like kind of a misinformation campaign.
Okay,
You
so I was just reading in a book about the Germanic peoples and where they come from, ancient history, and somewhere in there it said there was so much ice. The ice was in some places 2 miles thick, 2 miles thick of ice. And it said that that was so heavy that it pushed down the land. And like
know,
after through warming periods where it would, feed the oceans and stuff and the landscape would change, the land would get bigger. And that's what you're saying these skeletons did. Like once you took
right,
all the hair and
right,
skin off, the
right.
bones would expand like the earth did
Well,
in like Paleolithic times.
because inevitably they were buried underneath soil and stone and ice for some time. They weren't like just laying out on the ground when someone
Some were
found
found in caves, they
right.
were protected.
Oh, they were in caves and
Yeah,
they
they were
they
in burials.
they had burial ceremonies for these like
Well,
10-foot tall people.
some like people would just find them, in the dirt or in a
Or
cave, and they'd be all excited about it. And people would, word would spread. The locals would come and check it out. Next thing you know, you've got a little hubbub going on, and you get a little knock on the door from the Smithsonian saying, "Hey, can we help you out? We'd be
right,
glad to help. This is kind of what we do." And then
right.
it's like, man, we hit the big time with our skeleton, and then all of a sudden, just disappears.
When was this happening?
Oh,
I've never heard of. I mean, like my grandmother or grandfather never told me about like stories about giants. That's something like
you
you
can
read about in
find
books.
newspaper article after newspaper article after newspaper article all around the country of these stories, and in other countries like Mexico too, I think, but United States for sure.
But in Mexico, they'd probably be like 6 foot tall.
They were a little shorter,
Right. I mean, they tend to be a little bit
still
shorter.
pretty tall, but not like Viking USA height.
Right. We have the tallest people.
Right.
Right. I don't know. Once again, I feel like if this were some sort of like kind of common thing, then maybe my grandmother or grandfather would have like let me know about it. Like,
Hey, have you ever heard of this thing called sweeping things under the rug?
what is it?
Or it's called people conspire and then they sweep things under the rug.
Oh, I see. So like if more than one person is invested in some sort of theory or campaign or activity, then that might be called a conspiracy.
Have you ever tried to sweep and hold up the rug and sweep it under the rug at the same time by yourself? You could do it, but it's a lot easier with other people involved.
Right. I can't say that I really have ever done it like with the idea to hide something. Maybe it's just more out of convenience. It's like, oh, like this little last bit, like this twig, I can't get it off the floor, and so I'm going to pick up the rug and sweep it under the rug.
Classic kid, clean up your room, shove it under the bed, sweep it under the rug, shove it in the closet.
Sweep it under the rug because it's inconvenient for uh, the storyline
Yeah,
or the
people don't want
ideal
to.
that we want to promote.
Right. They get a general trajectory of what they want history to look like, and anything
Who
that
does
dev
who does
they
this?
they in acad
Oh, they do
the
that.
fat cats in academia,
Hmm.
and anything that deviates from that storyline, it's just better. But
Better
it's just,
left. Yeah.
yeah,
Yes. Put it over there and let's forget about it, please.
put it with that other stuff,
Yeah.
that doesn't. So you have to, I mean, you have to be open to the occasional alternative news source, you know, here and every now and then.
What would the self interest be in saying, we've never really had human beings who are more than 6 feet, 5, 6 feet, 7 foot 3 inches tall. How
I
tall
don't
was
think
Manute
no,
Bol?
I don't think
Manute
anyone's
Bol was like
actively
seven
out there.
six.
People aren't walking around with protest signs saying no one above 6'5", 6'5" to stay alive. No one, there's no active.
And think about the think about the shift in the paradigm that would happen if all of a sudden we knew that hundreds of years ago everybody was, or not everybody necessarily, but everybody, let's say everybody was 8 to 10 feet tall, and then we'd be like, well, what the fuck happened,
Right.
and if in fact these people were 8 to 10 feet tall, then wouldn't there have been the subsequent structures for them to live in? And I don't know
Mm-hmm.
that in our archaeological findings we've found the similar structures where these giants would have lived in, because most of the
Hey,
places that I've been that are really old have really like small doorways
you know
and
where you
really
live?
small beds.
You know where you live when you're 10 or 12 feet tall?
Where do you live?
Any Anywhere you damn well
Any
please.
goddamn place you want to live. That's right. Because who's going
That's
to
right.
stop you?
Right.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. And you just probably walk around and like duck under. You just keep ducking under
You
the
could just
doors,
bust right through it if you wanted to,
right?
you know?
Yeah. So did they use porcelain toilets?
I don't think they had indoor plumbing.
Oh, I see.
I don't think there's been
This is before
any
the time of
evidence.
indoor plumbing. So what
Yeah,
about
yeah.
like, but wait, but they probably didn't have to. They probably had like larger rows in airplanes back then. I would
I
imagine,
don't
like because those
I don't
people
think
were
they
really
had
big. Like you
planes.
could like try to
Why would you
put a
need an
feet
airplane
out.
when you could
It's like
Why would you need an airplane when you could just walk anywhere you wanted to go?
You could get there really fast by
It would
virtue
take
of the
like
fact
five
that,
minutes to walk from Kansas to Canada if you're
yeah,
12 feet tall. It's
that's
no big
right.
deal.
I do agree with that logic. That's right.
They say,
Uh,
necessity is the mother of invention, and I don't see any necessity in this case.
who does what?
But necessity is the mother of invention, and there's no necessity to invent flying when you're so tall that you could just walk around the earth.
Well, who was necessity's dad? Because I mean, I was thinking like usually the trait of height
Persephone?
follows the dad. Necessity. You said necessity. Oh, necessity was the mother. So who was invention's father? Because
Who's
necessity
Persephone?
was invention's mother.
Who is Persephone, though? Is this on? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. You said Persephone was the mother of invention. I see
I'm,
now.
I'm here
I
to
see.
learn. I don't know. I don't want to argue necessarily.
I thought that the whole point of the podcast was called Arguing with Tom and Jerry. Hey, everybody, my name's Tom,
I'm
and
Jerry.
you're here listening to Arguing with Tom and Jerry.
I'm Jerry.
I thought I'd take this minute now that we've been on the air for a while. We're having a lot of success, and I've gotten a few sponsorships. It's easy to geeko, they said. So please go out and get some geeko. It's easy to geeko. Nature's Made, #1 pharmacist recommended, unscientifically proven dietary supplements. The These guys, I really believe in their product. They're pretty good. Another one I had that is sponsoring the podcast, Etsy, your source for useless, overpriced shit.
Is,
So
are you, is that,
what?
is there any, is there any kind of conflict, like say you were to upload this video onto some platforms, for example, do
Like
they
a
have rule?
like the Riverside FM podcast platform?
No, like the other ones like Odyssey or something like
TubeView,
that.
TubeView,
Yeah.
TubeView.
Like,
I don't
is
think
there
there is because
violation of terms?
I've just been, these people reached out to me and said, hey, we really like what you guys are doing and what you're talking
Oh,
about. We noticed that you have thousands of followers. Would
right.
you please like
Okay.
maybe make a mention? And then we had this one, Governor Greg Abbott personally reached out to me and wanted to promote Texas, America's shithole. So anyway,
I don't,
uh,
I mean, I, I don't care for that sponsorship because,
which one?
oh, um, the Texas one.
Because
I'm,
I know that in talking with you,
I'm a huge fan
you've
of,
enjoyed your time in Texas, and I've enjoyed some time in Texas.
and
But
I've never met a Texan I didn't like.
what about the Supreme Court justices who say that you have to carry fetal tissue, uh, dead fetal tissue in your body? With that, with is do you like those guys?
I don't even know what you're talking about. What's that?
Hmm. No, something I heard about, something I read about on some sort of news platform or something. I don't know. I can't speak to it, but
I never heard of it. But I don't follow Texas politics. I just go down there for the food.
it's good. Damn right, that food is good. You
And
know.
the driving is fast. You get from A to B quick.
Yep, Big Bend. That's a beautiful place.
You ever go to that place where Lee Harvey Oswald single-handedly changed history?
hmm The Texas Book Depository.
Yeah, I've been there.
Yeah, I've been there too. I walked around down there. I walked through the what do they call it? The flowery
The
meadow,
grassy knoll.
the grassy knoll. Yeah, I walked through there.
It's
Looking
eerie,
for
isn't it? Is
it
it
is.
amazing to stand? You stand right there, like it's so. It seems like nowadays maybe they would have tore the building down or something like that, you know? It's weird that you could go there this many years later and it's all the same.
I went when I went. I rented like a 1962 convertible,
Did
and we
you?
drove down the thing, and we're like you know. I don't know if you've taken that tour or not. That's a tour they offer down there.
Did everybody leave you alone or did you you didn't get attacked or anything like that?
No, just some Cuban like kind of immigrant kind of guys like were talking to me about whether or not I thought that there should be capitalism on the island of Cuba. I don't know. I didn't really pay much attention to it.
Did missiles come up at all or?
No, they didn't talk about missiles or anything.
All right. Well, cue that outro, I think.
Cue the outro, Jerry. Tom and Jerry like to argue. Tom and Jerry like to fist fight. Tom and Jerry like to scream and shout, but Tom and Jerry always work it out. Yeah, arguing with Tom and Jerry. Now we're arguing with Tom and Jerry. Have a drink, have a smoke, and settle down for arguing with Tom and Jerry. Yeah, have a drink, have a smoke, and settle down for arguing with Tom and Jerry.